The vice principal, ignoring the moment, calmly mentioned that although he and Leon had only met a few times, there was something that had always puzzled him: Leon's tail had never been seen. The question hit Leon unexpectedly, and he stiffened. His thoughts raced as he wondered if the vice principal had started to uncover his true identity. The vice principal, with a curious yet composed expression, mentioned that he couldn't quite discern which noble dragon clan Leon hailed from and politely asked if Leon could share it, if it was convenient. Before Leon could respond, Ross Weiss leaned in close, gently holding Leon's arm, and asserted that her husband wasn't from any noble lineage, but was merely an ordinary dragon. Leon, catching on, awkwardly laughed and supported Ross Weiss's claim, affirming that he was just a commoner. The vice principal then nodded thoughtfully and remarked that it was truly remarkable how such a union had produced a dragon cub as talented as Noah. He looked at both of them with a subtle smile and added that St. Heath's Academy gladly welcomes such exceptional children. The underlying meaning of his words was clear: he was subtly encouraging them to have more children, the more the better, to fill the academy with gifted students. Leon and Ross Weiss exchanged glances, both wearing awkward expressions, silently realizing that the vice principal had practically written down his intentions out loud. The vice principal, coughing lightly and clearing his throat, expressed his belief that when Noah graduates, she would surely have the strength and capability to lead the Dragon Clan in defeating more dragon slayers. He looked directly at Leon as he said this, implying high expectations for Noah's future. Leon, however, wore a long and awkward expression, internally thinking a sarcastic, "Thank you so much." The irony wasn't lost on him: his daughter was being nurtured to become powerful enough to one day possibly kill a dragon slayer like himself. His face subtly showed the weight of that realization, the bitter humor of raising someone who might become his executioner. It was a pit he felt he had dug for himself. In the distance, the Red Dragon King silently watched the interaction between Leon and the vice principal. Without saying much, he turned around and gave a quiet command to his subordinates to leave. Yet the lingering look in his eyes hinted at deeper intentions. It was clear he wasn't done, and as he warned earlier, the Red Dragon King seemed to be planning something once again. At the academy gate, Leon and Ross Weiss exited the building, chatting happily with each other. Their cheerful conversation was cut short when the Red Dragon King suddenly stepped forward, blocking their path. He addressed the Silver Dragon Queen, signaling her to stop. Ross Weiss met his gaze with sharp eyes, clearly displeased. She was quick to recall that the Academy had already reached a conclusion on the matter, and the Red Dragon King himself had seemingly agreed to it. However, his expression now carried arrogance, and his tone made it clear that his previous acceptance had only been a polite formality, spoken merely to give the Academy some face. Turning his attention to Leon, the Red Dragon King made it known that now, outside the Academy grounds, the matter would be handled according to the customs of their dragon clan. Leon met the Red Dragon King's words with a serious expression. Without waiting for a response, the Red Dragon King stepped closer and pressed his finger against Leon's chest, says that he wanted to challenge her husband for a duel with him right then and there. Ross Weiss, arms folded, chose not to interfere, calmly observing the Red Dragon King's provocations. Leon, too, remained silent. He didn't flinch or step back, his gaze fixed on the finger pressed against him, his expression unreadable but clearly taking the situation with full seriousness. Ross Weiss observed the people around them, noting their chatter. She realized that if they refused the challenge, the Silver Dragons would likely be ridiculed for being weak and afraid of fighting. The Red Dragon King looked on arrogantly, mocking tone. He asked if they're not going to refuse the duel. Ross Weiss leans closer to Leon and whispers, asking if he wants to take on the challenge and if he's feeling well. Leon responds with a light smile, clenching his fists as he looks forward to the upcoming fight. He murmurs that the Red Dragon King came to him, asking for a fight, and of course, he had to accept. Ross Weiss tells him to go ahead but cautions him not to beat the Red Dragon King to death. Leon moves forward confidently, assuring her not to worry. The students rush toward the academy gate. Among them, one boy says to another that they should go quickly, as he heard there are dragons fighting in front of the gate, and they should go see it. Noah, passing by at that moment, overheard the conversation, and it piqued her curiosity. She stopped, wondering if the fight might involve her father. At the same time, the Red Dragon King and Leon assumed their stances, preparing for their confrontation. Students gathered around, watching the scene from above. Some whispered, remarking on the dragon fight, while others speculated about the identities of the combatants. As Leon stretches his body, preparing for the fight, the Red Dragon King observes him, thinking that the young man looks frail and doesn't even dare to show his tail. He believes there is nothing to fear, seeing Leon as tough only on the outside. The Red Dragon King, with an arrogant expression, cunningly thinks to himself that his son lost a fight, and today, he plans to beat him up and restore justice. The Red Dragon King, looking at Leon, mentioned that in the Red Flame Dragon clan, they didn't bully others. He stated that as long as Leon could survive 3 rounds, he would lose. Leon, uninterested, completely ignored him and, without a second thought, told him to stop talking nonsense. Leon, still ignoring the Red Dragon King, insisted they get started. The Red Dragon King, infuriated by the dismissal, became even more furious. The Red Dragon King became furious and rushed at Leon, shouting that bullying a dragon was too much. With just a single punch, Leon ended the fight, sending the Red Dragon King flying. This was how my laziness told myself to finish it, without putting much effort, since many people might not even watch until the end. But that's not my way. The Red Dragon King, rushing at Leon in anger, accused him of bullying a dragon. As he advanced, he summoned flames to his fists, quickly closing the distance and threatening Leon with death. Leon, however, stood still, unaffected by the threats or the charging attack. When the Red Dragon King threw his fiery punch, Leon effortlessly dodged it with a slight bend to the right. Internally, Leon thought to himself that, sure enough, the Red Dragon King was much weaker than the dragons he had encountered on the battlefield. Looking at the Red Dragon King, Leon laughed cheerfully, noting that there were still 2 rounds left. With his attack missing, the Red Dragon King's fury intensified as he glared at Leon. The Red Dragon King, turning back, rushed at Leon again, acknowledging his skill in dodging. Once more, he threw a punch at Leon, taunting him about his skill and questioning if he was a coward. However, Leon effortlessly dodges the attack once more. The punch crashes into the ground, causing it to crack and shatter beneath the force. As Leon dodges, he leaps into the air. As Leon leapt into the air, the Red Dragon King, enraged, released a burst of flames, aiming to burn him. As the flames reach Leon, he notices while he is still in the air. Even though the Red Dragon King's flames are approaching Leon with rapid speed, just a moment away from burning him, still, Leon doesn't dodge. Leon remained calm, glaring at them as they neared his face. The flames exploded in mid-air, and the Red Dragon King watched the blast, thinking his attack had landed. However, what he didn't notice was that Leon had already landed safely on the ground just before the flames was about to be burnt. As Leon landed on the ground, the Red Dragon King finally realized that his flames hadn't caught up to him. Looking at Leon, he saw a confident and arrogant expression on his face. Leon then says that it's his turn now. Without wasting a moment, Leon swiftly moved forward and, using his strength, delivered a powerful kick to the Red Dragon King's knees. The impact forced the Red Dragon King to fall, clutching his knee in pain while glaring furiously at Leon. Leon gave him no time to recover. He charged his fists with a glowing blue aura, likely magic, and rushed forward, quickly closing the distance. With a swift and forceful strike, Leon punched the Red Dragon King directly in the face, causing blood to spill from his mouth. The sheer force of the punch sent the Red Dragon King flying a great distance, crashing hard into a wall. This is how the fight was meant to end, clean, sharp, and professional. But sometimes, disappointment creeps in and swallows everything. Let me know which version hits harder for you, or if you'd like both endings shown side by side. Leon looked at the defeated Red Dragon King and dusted off his hands with a light smile. Says that even without using magic, he had ended the fight with ease. Witnessing this, the other Red Dragon nobles who had accompanied the Red Dragon King, their faces turned pale in shock. Their faces were stricken with fear as they screamed out the Red Dragon King as Lord Duke Lair. Leon, now with a clenched fist, turned his gaze toward them and asked if they wanted to try fighting with him too. His presence alone made the two hesitate, their confidence shattered. Terrified, they quickly backed down, denying any intention to fight. Leon then made his stance clear. He instructed them to take the Red Dragon King away and to make sure their son stayed away from his daughter in the future. With the warning delivered, the 2 red dragons quickly carried the fallen Red Dragon King and fled without hesitation. Leon, now turning back calmly, indicated that it was time to head back. As Leon turns around, he is surprised to see Noah standing there instead of Rosweiss. He notices her and asks when she arrived. Noah, who admires strength and holds her father in high regard, slightly blushes and looks away, mentioning that she had simply passed by and noticed the lively scene. She then hands a box to Rosweiss, saying it's for her. Leon, curious, asks what it is. As Rosweiss opens the box, she finds a heart-shaped cookie inside. With a slight blush, Noah looks away and mentions that the cookies were made in a cooking class where they only took second place, adding that they might not taste very good. She insists that they doesn't need to try them. However, Rosweiss, supporting Noah, breaks the cookie in half and offers one piece to Leon, winking at him. She assures her that the cookies are delicious and urges Leon to try one as well. As Leon takes a bite of the cookie Noah made, he happily comments that there's no way the cookies his daughter made could be bad and reassures her that she'll definitely win first place next time. Noah, suddenly looking at him, says that he was very impressive. Leon, caught off guard by her words, looks at her in surprise. Her praise makes his face turn red, and he can't help but think how happy it makes him. He wonders if it means that the relationship between them has become closer. Scratching his head and laughing, Leon responds that of course, he's powerful. Leon then patted on Noah's head, telling her that if she wants to learn any fighting techniques, she should ask her dad. Noah smiles at him as he pats her head. Noah is beginning to grow closer to her father, though she may not show it. Beneath her pride, she deeply cares for and loves him, wanting him to be proud of her. Meanwhile, Rosweiss, with her arms folded, watches the interaction silently, leaving us wondering what's going through her mind, or she is looking at the wound on Leon's hand. After Leon and Rosweiss return to the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon begins studying a book, its contents likely related to the Encyclopedia of Dragons Raising, 108 Ways to Communicate with Their Baby. While he's focused on his reading, Rosweiss enters the room with a medical kit. Leon, noticing her entrance, asks why she's here. Without responding, Rosweiss sits next to him on the sofa. Leon, surprised by her sudden action, wonders why she's sitting so close and if she is trying to do something new. Rosweiss, blushing, extends her hand toward Leon and asks him to give her his hand. Leon, confused by her request, looks at her in surprise. She then clarifies, pointing to his injured hand, asking if it's bothering him. Leon glances at his hand and responds that it's just a minor injury and will heal in 2 days. Rosweiss, holding Leon's hand with a blush, gently insists that he be honest and give it to her. Leon is taken aback by her sudden touch, but he doesn't pull away. Rosweiss dips a cotton stick in medicine and carefully applies it to Leon's hand. Leon grits his teeth as the medicine touches his wound, the pain causing his body to shake slightly. Rosweiss, noticing his discomfort, tells him not to move and assures him it will be over soon. As Rosweiss tends to his injury, Leon reflects on his past experiences. As a battle-hardened dragon slayer, he sustained numerous wounds, many of which he treated casually in the past. But this is different. He observes Rosweiss's careful and gentle application of the medicine, realizing that it's the first time someone has taken such care with his injuries. Looking at Rosweiss's hand, Leon notices that her hand is soft, warm and her fingertips are slightly cold, and the places she touches feel oddly itchy. He suddenly realizes what he's thinking and, his face turning red, quickly looks away, wondering to himself what he is thinking. As Rosweiss tends to Leon's wound, she softly says, with a slight blush, that she's thankful for today. Leon, pretending not to understand, looks at her and asks what she's thanking him for. While carefully bandaging his hand, Rosweiss explains that when Lal's father appeared in an aggressive posture, Leon took the initiative to stand up in defense of her and Noah. Leon listens quietly before responding that it was simply what he should do. Even though the two of them are practically strangers, he begins to say something more, hinting at a deeper bond, perhaps about to refer to her as his wife, but he stops himself. After a brief pause, he coughs and, blushing, says that it was all for Noah. To his deflection, Rosweiss responds with a light smile, remarking that she knew he would be stubborn. Rosweiss then brings up a new topic, casually mentioning that her sister has invited their whole family to visit her. She asks Leon if he wants to go. Leon, unimpressed, replies that he doesn't want to. Rosweiss, smiling slyly, responds it is okay, they can settle down previous unresolved matter. Leon, caught off guard and sensing trouble, reacts in fear and quickly changes his answer, agreeing to go. After a long time Rosweiss turns into her dragon form. Rosweiss transforms him into her dragon form with elegance and strength. She carries the family on her back as they travel to the Red Dragon territory. Upon arrival, Rosweiss lands gracefully. Leon, Noah, and Moon step down from her back. Moon, who had fallen asleep in Leon's arms during the flight, is gently woken up by Leon, who tells her they've arrived. It's been so long, in fact, I didn't even remember the name of Rosweiss's sister, we last saw nearly 30 chapters ago. As they land, Aisha eagerly waves and rushes over to greet Rosweiss, calling out to her as Little Ross. Without hesitation, Aisha jumps up, pressing her face affectionately against Rosweiss's dragon form, excitedly commenting on how impressive it still looks. Though slightly annoyed, Rosweiss tolerates her sister's overly affectionate antics. Rosweiss then shifts back into her human form. Aisha, still clinging to her from behind, playfully places her hands around Rossweiss's waist and breasts, teasing that she still looks adorable even in human form. Rossweiss blushes in embarrassment and softly complains that it itchy. Despite this, Aisha continues nuzzling her face against Rossweiss's, showing her usual excessive fondness. Trying to steer the moment back to something proper, Rossweiss gently pulls herself together and mentions that she wants to introduce her family, noting that they haven't met formally before. Now it's time she formally met her husband and daughters. Rossweiss gestures toward Leon and introduces him as her husband, Leon Kusmode. Leon, feeling a bit awkward, responds with a nervous laugh and gives a small wave. Aisha, looking at him with a playful smile, greets him warmly, saying it's nice to finally see him awake. Next, Rossweiss presents her daughters, referring to them affectionately as her little cuties. Moon, as cheerful as ever, greets Aisha brightly with a hello, auntie, while Noah simply gives a polite nod, staying quiet and reserved. Aisha immediately picks up Moon in her arms, holding her affectionately, and then takes a playful guess, pointing out that Moon is the lively one and Noah must be the one standing behind. Moon happily confirms that her aunt guessed correctly. Aisha grins and says they're just as Rossweiss described in her letters. Turning to Noah, Aisha gently asks if she wants a hug too. Noah, caught a little off guard. Noah blushes at the offer with a little shy, she softly agrees. With a delighted smile, Aisha wraps both Moon and Noah in her arms, holding them close with joy. Aisha, beaming with joy, exclaims how happy she is to be able to hug two little dragon girls at once. Turning to Leon, she mentions that Rossweiss had told her he's usually the one who takes care of the children. She thanks him sincerely for his hard work, calling him brother-in-law. Leon, caught a bit off guard by her words, quickly snaps his attention toward her. With a smile, he responds that it's not hard at all, he enjoys taking care of the children and feels that they're quite close to him. To that, Rossweiss immediately interjects, claiming that the children are obviously closer to her. Leon, not missing a beat, playfully fires back, saying that she must be joking, how could that even be possible? This sparks a mock fierce exchange between the two. Rossweiss locks eyes with Leon, her gaze intense, and asks if he really thinks she's joking. Leon meets her gaze with equal intensity and, after a moment, concedes with a smirk, saying that they're closer to her, he'll give in to her. Aisha, caught in the middle of their playful argument, chuckles and says that they really do have a good relationship. At her words, both Leon and Rossweiss look away, their faces turning red. Rossweiss, trying to brush it off, mumbles that it's nothing. Smiling, Aisha changes the subject and suggests that they head inside, noting they must be tired after such a long journey. The family agrees, and they spend some time resting before gathering for dinner. After the meal, Aisha calls out to Noah and Moon, holding a book in her hands. With a playful grin, she asks if they want to see photos of their mother when she was a child. Both girls immediately perk up with curiosity, their attention drawn to the book. Moon excitedly raises her hand and cheerfully says she wants to see it. Rossweiss, seeing what her sister is up to, is visibly caught off guard, surprised and a bit flustered by what Aisha is about to reveal. Rossweiss quickly rushes toward Aisha, attempting to snatch the album, exclaiming that she doesn't want those photos out in the open and demanding that Aisha give it to her. Aisha, holding the album high to keep it out of reach, teases Rossweiss, noting that she seems to be shy about it. As the struggle continues, Aisha locks eyes with Leon. He senses the playful challenge in her gaze and looks back at her, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. Just as Rossweiss is about to grab the album, Aisha makes a sudden move, she decisively tosses it toward Leon. With quick reflexes, Leon catches it with ease. Rossweiss, flustered and blushing, turns to Leon, telling him to wait. With a mischievous grin, Leon opens the album, remarking that there's nothing more humiliating than looking through someone's childhood photos, anticipating the reveal of Rossweiss's past. As Leon opens the album, a radiant glow emanates from it, leaving him surprised and questioning what is happening. I think Leon may enter the album and experience Rossweiss's childhood memories, or it could be one of Aisha's tricks to test Leon, or maybe it's just photos. We don't know exactly. The next part isn't coming soon, so we won't find out what's really going to happen yet. Don't forget to subscribe.